Let's introduce our audience
Oh,
member
wait
to
a second. Wait a
Guy
second.
Pratt.
This isn't fair. So I guess I have to put this here.
Oh
Oh,
yeah, yeah. Come.
All
Oh my
right.
God,
So
what
now
is
we're
that?
good.
An Ampeg? That looks like some sort of psychedelic
No.
Ampeg.
This is a six-string bass
oh,
Wow.
built by a guy named Ken Bevensey,
Right.
and it has the obbligato, the actual pink neon strings, because as I always say,
non-binary strings.
it takes a tough man to wear pink.
Yes, it does.
You I don't know that it does. It was pink because it was a big 50s color, wasn't it? Black and pink.
That's
That was a
right,
big
that's
sort
right.
of punk thing. Big punk thing. The Clash, a lot of black and pink. Elvis, a lot of black and pink.
Good
Uh-huh.
observation.
What's great is these
Yeah.
strings are great on stage because they glow under the lights, which is very
Well,
cool.
there you go. No, that's very cool.
Much like the bass player. Yeah.
Like I've said, I feel for me, the bass is like this poor, dutiful, loyal kind of wife
Yes.
who sits at home while I go off and have my affairs and run about town and always come crawling back to her. And she just sits there.
Just like
dutifully
our
waiting.
wives, David. Yes.
That's it.
But
Well, it's
true,
very,
isn't it?
it's interesting also, you came along, and David and I have this long running debate about the 60s versus the 80s, because I was a working musician in the 80s. But the 80s were really a decade of bass. You had
It
active
was. No. It absolutely was. It was the best decade to be a bass player because certainly in the sort of world I was in, which is the cool current music of the time, we're talking about that whole world of everything from Brian Ferry to Scritti Politti to
Yes.
Smiths or whatever. You know, certainly in British music, it's like guitar. It wasn't about guitar. Guitar
Right.
was small. Guitar played polite minor seventh chords, unless you were Johnny Marr. You know, guitar was Johnny Marr.
Yes.
You know, or you know, it wasn't fucking, you know, David Gilmour or Jimmy Page. It's not really what it was.
Right.
So,
Outside of the
we
metal.
and it was the slapping, and it was the, you know, and also the fact that the bass seemed to be responding really well to technology.
Exactly.
You know, with things like the Steinberger and all the, you know.
Well,
then,
it was active
and then
electronics.
then the
you know.
boss chorus came along and made everyone think they could play fretless. Absolutely guilty of that.
Yeah.
Is that an E or an F? I don't know. There's a lot of chorus on it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Funny story. Funny story.
Yes, that's our ongoing debate. But yes, you're absolutely right. Digital recording. Oh, here we go.
This
Oh, yeah,
this
yeah.
is a it's a tone. It was a Tony Franklin bass, okay?
Right. Yeah.
And the minute I got it,
What is it
I
with you
went,
and strings, man? What is?
oh, these are DR.
Okay, so you got blue
They
for a
have
boy, pink for
multiple
a girl.
colors, but I'm kind of a color coordinated kind
It's
of
a
guy.
desperate cry for
I'm getting
attention.
that. I'm getting that.
Yeah.
He needs
But
to
the
be
thing
noticed,
is,
guy.
It's very cool. I
this
like
is where it gets funny. The Fender still makes great necks, and the
Right.
body's the body, but their pickups to me are lacking. So right away, I got this bass maybe 5 months ago. I don't know if you ever met John Reagan, bass player with Frampton.
No.
Well,
But
he
very
was
good.
doing a tribute for Peter's charity
Right.
because of his debilitating disease, and he passed away. So the guitar player called me to do the Frampton Comes Alive Redux.
Okay.
Stanley Sheldon played a fretless. So
That's
I
right,
wanted
yeah.
to get as close to it as possible. So this was the only fretless available. So I had everything, the pickups, the bridge, even the black plastic dilly up here I had changed. I even had my own backplate. And the damn thing looked too goddamn new. And it was
Right.
really disgusting. So I had a company distress it.
Ah.
They dragged it around the
So-
parking lot for 2 days.
So I did I did an article in Bass Musician Magazine calling it the Franklin Steiner, because the only thing
That's
left
very
from the
good.
Tony Franklin bass was the body and the neck. Well, he hasn't spoken to me.
See, I'm personally baffled by precision fretlesses. See, to me, the jazz seems the obvious fretless because to me, a fretless needs a bite, so it needs a pickup near the bridge.
Well, that is
Which
a
is
PJ
why-
configuration, yeah.
But yeah,
but the
although
obstacle is
the person who would disagree with me is David Gilmour, who is a very fine fretless player, and in fact, it was I think it was a Charvel precision fretless. That he did Hey You and all the stuff on the wall.
Is that on
which is
Pigs,
a
that
fabulous
record?
sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, Animals.
No,
Yeah.
no, on the wall on Hey
Oh,
You.
the wall. Okay.
Yeah, Animals isn't fretless, but that's him on Pigs. Yeah.
Oh,
Or Sheep rather.
the
Cheap
thing is
Animals.
with me, it's more, obviously with the 6 string, I like a very big neck.
Yeah.
So a P neck is particularly the C neck is the right one for me. And so this one, at least Tony got it right about putting 2 pickups in, but
Yeah.
Fender pickups they're lacking. That's
No,
all there is.
they're totally lacking. They gave me a because I've been for the Saucers gigs. I just play basses I don't like, because I have to be. The one thing I do is try and be authentic, because there's no point trying to copy those parts. You can't even hear it most of the time.
Yeah.
And is that from 67 to 70, Roger played a Rickenbacker. And from 70, when their gear got nicked in New Orleans, he played a precision. So I played Rickenbackers and precisions, neither of which I like. I mean, with precisions, I know it's me. It's not, it's not you, it's me. Precisions are obviously fabulous, but it's like certain Italian knitwear. I love it on other people, but it's and Rickenbackers I just can't really play. I hate them. I
do too.
But they make me play great for this gig, because I kind of need to have one hand tied behind my back, and I kind of have to play with a pick, because if I'm me with a Rickenbacker with a pick, there's no danger of me getting funky anywhere.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, when Magical Mystery Tour came out and there was Paul playing that it looks great. And that's the only thing you could say about the Rickenbacker.
It looks fantastic. It looks like, but that's why I never understood why it became the sort of prog bass, like Chris Squire and everything, because it's not a hi-fi sounding instrument.
No.
Really. I mean, they're fantastic. They are a thing. But but back to, we've gone way off tangent, which is what I do. But yeah, what you're talking about precision, I think it all comes down to what was the first bass you picked up. What was the first bass you played? And the first bass I played was a jazz. It was just, and in fact, it's for the first time in years. This is the first bass guitar I ever owned. This is the one that my dad gave me.
Fabulous.
Which, it wasn't fretless. I had it. A friend of mine made this ebony fingerboard for it. And it's I think it's a Grant or one of those Japanese makes, and it was a Sunburst, and I could never figure out, this is all in the book, I could never figure out why the black of the Sunburst followed the contour at the back. And it was when I shaved it down, I realized it's because it's plywood.
That's right, that is in the book. Yeah.
But it's gorgeous and it sounds great. And yeah, so that's it. Actually, I haven't tried.
Now, did it have an action like a ski slope?
No, action was fine. The action was nice. But also, I was a lot smaller. There's pictures of me. Youth has some pictures of me with it, and it's huge on me. Because I grew very late. But it's essentially, it's that jazz profile, and that's all I've ever wanted. And then I got, when I got Betsy, my 64, which is the most perfect profile neck I've ever come across.
Right, and now that's available at the Bass Center. Yes.
Best-selling replica bass they've ever had, because it's
now look at this, David. He's got the top rock podcast and the best-selling bass. What are we going to do here, Dave?
And Much Ado About Books. I'm telling you,
and he's got a book out. There's
Betsy replica, which is
all right.
And I play them when I did a gig. I did a cancer charity gig the other week with Andy Taylor.
Yes, I saw
with
that,
Robert
yes.
Plant. Yeah,
yes.
It was great. So how's this for a box tick? So I'm one of the few people, apart from John Paul Jones, to have played Black Dog with both Jimmy Page and Robert Plant.
How about that? I'll figure. But 80s, an amazing generation, amazing era for bass. You had Pino Palladino, you had Paul Denman, the fabulous Paul Denman with the Sade. Of course, our hero Norman Watt-Roy, Daryl Jones,
my mate. Daryl Jones, Tony Levin.
Tony Levin,
yes.
loomed large. He was my hero then.
Right, you followed him around, right? Neil Jason, of course, Mark King. What an enormous effect he must have had on British bass players when Level 42 came out.
Oh God, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Do you know? In fact, there's a bit of footage of that was taken when I was doing the first production rehearsals with Pink Floyd when I first started playing for them in '87. Well, and so I don't know how someone was sneaking around with a camera without anyone knowing. It's always amazing. There's always a camera, you know, because back then cameras were like that.
Right, they were huge. Yeah.
But it was when we were in this, we're in this hangar. It was a 747 maintenance hangar at Toronto Airport. And someone's just wandering around. It's in the afternoon. There's not a full rehearsal going on. We're obviously everyone's plugged around, and you can hear me and Gary Wallace are playing, and I'm playing Lessons in Love. Oh no, Love Games. Because that's what you did.
But you also had to hold the bass.
You did.
You had to hold it high.
You had it up there. Yeah, absolutely. Not quite that. I mean, it was quite funny. Because there was the New Romantic thing that they did, which was just to be as unrockist as you can. So yeah, that was literally under your chin.
You like a bow tie.
But yeah, it's funny because I still had, when I look at like when I first started playing with Floyd, that first Floyd tour, my bass is a little higher than is kind of comfortable, really. I mean, it is comfortable, but it's a little higher than I don't know, than a guy playing stadium rock.
Well, it's, you know, of course, the problem with playing, it's nice ergonomically, it's a mess because you could tip over because all the weight is on you, like exactly. that. And then, of course, your arms go dead. And then as you get older, you develop a pot belly, so you have the bass has to lower.
Well, exactly, yes.
Exactly.
I know that. I remember that used to be quite funny, especially in the early days when he was, because he's much more svelte now. But I remember times when I used to sneak to have a go on David's guitar, and I put it on, and it would be down at my knees.
The two things I learned from Billy Sheehan is, one, when you're sitting down with your instrument and it's comfortable, stand up, get just a simple piece of leather. That's
brilliant.
And that's basically what I've done since then. I guess that goes back to the 70s. But I've had it.
So that's way too fucking grown up and sensible for me to ever actually do. You know what I mean? That's
I could never understand Dee Ramone. I mean, come on,
no. There's an actual.
It looked fantastic.
No, actually,
exactly.
Let me tell you,
it's at the end of the day. You know, are we musicians or are we playing rock and roll? You know, I mean, if you're the Ramones, man, it's come on. You know.
But there's actually a ergonomic reason why he did that, David. If you play like this mid drift, right? You're using your forearm muscles, but to play that rapid fire eighth note,
if you're doing that,
you've got to use your wrist.
You want a straight arm. You want
so you want it straight on, so you put the wristband on. Right. Absolutely, David. So that's why you. Go ahead.
Yeah, but you want to talk about ergonomically useless instruments?
Right? Yes. See, David, that's why you failed your audition with the Ramones, David. It wasn't the
that's
string
true.
bass.
Is that the Parker?
Oh, here we go.
No, that's not a Parker. Oh, that's the Buzzard.
Yes, for the sake of your listeners, this is a Buzzard. And let me turn the lights on, because it's the point of it.
Oh, you got to get one of those, David.
I didn't even want this. But I was over at Warwick a few years ago, and they really wanted to give me a bass. And so I said, all right, I'll take a Buzzard. And I have actually used it with the Saucers for Let There Be More Light, which is because it was the most kind of Spinal Tap song Pink Floyd ever did. And it's amazing to play, but everything about it is wrong. You can't put it on a stand. You can't lean it against the wall. You can't put it in any sort of case, except for it's got this ridiculous case. It doesn't fit in anything. It doesn't, everything about it is a fucking disaster.
Including the numbers on the fretboard. Come on.
I know, but it's such a long note. The funny thing is that you put it on and you stand like him. You immediately stand like John Ezra. It's like it moves into this, and because the way the neck is, it's like you're kind of starting at the 12th fret. So you're just playing the real me, whatever you do.
Now, do you also play French horn when you're wearing that bass?
Yeah, practically. But but the reason, he designed it. The reason for this horn, apparently, is is so that you can hang it over the back of a bar stool and change the strings.
Excellent.
Yeah, which is nice one, John. Except that, let's face it, you didn't change your own strings since.
I was going there, yeah.
Wow. All right, so maybe the next version of Betsy will have that.
And your tech is not changing your strings in the bar. I'm gonna hang back up.
All right, fabulous. So Look at that, David. A piece of history. But speaking of the ox, that your the Betsy's prototype is John Entwistle's bass, which you have,
Yeah, Betsy's right here. Do you want to see her?
You want to see Betsy, David?
See, this is what happened when a bunch of bass geeks get together.
I know. There it is. Wow. Is that? Go ahead. Let him get his headphones on.
There's the old girl.
Is that the My Generation bass?
No, he never played it. He had the. I mean, it's, like I said, owning a bass that belonged to, people say, well, is it really John Entwistle's bass? Owning a bass that belonged to John Entwistle is like owning a pair of shoes that belonged to Imelda Marcos. Do you know what I mean? Like, he had all of them at some point.
Yeah, in every color, right?
The rumor is, what I heard is that he had the full, because they made three full sets of Burgundy Mist in 1964. And he had a full set. He had the jazz, the precision, the Strat, the telly, the jazz master, everything. And which of course was priceless on its own, but he just had to sell them all in a hurry. So I bought this through Alan Rogan, the legendary tech. And but I now have her sister.
More bass swag here. Oh my goodness.
I'm not making it easy for myself, am I?
I know, really. It was a very strenuous interview.
It's such a shame. This is a podcast. Yes.
Well, no, we have video. We'll put it up on video.
This is Eliza, her sister, who's might be a 63 or 64 precision.
Ooh.
So which is the loudest. I must have. You were talking about pickups, Dave. This is the loudest precision I've ever played.
Wow.
Are those stock B pickups? Are those stock B
pickups? I guess. I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, I got it from Mark Gooday, who the head of Ashdown.
Ashdown, yeah.
And in fact, the entire 2016 range of Ashdown amps were tuned to this bass. So there you go.
Mm-hmm. It's funny you mentioned the word restriction. David and I interviewed Jerry Jamot, and David and I were convinced had Jocko lived, he would have played a 6-string bass like my friend David has there. But Jerry Jamot counters that.
I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's that the limitations of the 4-string, and when you play an extended range bass, I know you tried the 5-string at somebody's behest.
Yeah.
And the 6-string, you do see the limitations of the 4-string because, as David will tell you, on a 6-string you move more horizontally, where on a 4-string,
that's what Jack Bruce said. That's why you like 5 strings, because you go there. But if you think about it, it's also, I mean, whatever, just the top note on a jazz, right?
E flat.
Yeah. Which I actually play with which I actually use for the last, when I play a double set, I play a chord at the end of Sourceful of Secrets. And I love that I actually play the highest note.
Oh, is that Remember a Day you do that on? There's another one. Corporal Clegg, I think, had a real high.
All right. But anyway, the point being, that note, why on earth would you need anything higher than that on a bass guitar?
Well, to be honest, the idea to me was never getting the Diary of the Hands high soloing. That was never my point. Where I started, it was twofold. My brother-in-law was Ian McDonald, and when he left Foreigner, we started a band, and he bought me a Chapman stick. And
I was about to bring those up. Yeah, go on.
All right. So and Padula built me a 5-string bass because I wanted to go low.
Yeah.
But they built me a 5-string bass on a 4-string neck. And I couldn't get my hands in there.
Of course not.
So, and frankly, the way I look at this is, okay, so this is the D, okay? That's the D 2 octaves above. I don't normally go all the way up here.
Yeah.
So
Oh
the
no,
point
absolutely.
was,
I'm not saying there's no place for it, but I'm just saying with everything that with Jacko's facility, I just don't think he, in the same way as I don't think Hendrix ever would have gone beyond a Strat.
Interesting. You don't think he would have gotten into guitar synthesizers or?
Maybe, but that stuff's all outboard. It's still,
true.
you know, it doesn't really matter in the same way as, you know, I mean, look at David Gilmour. I mean, no one's done more to expand the horizons of what a guitar can sound like than him, but it's still the Black Strat. You know.
Interesting. We spoke to your colleague Dave Swift a few times, and of course, David, you studied with Anthony Jackson, right? You took a few lessons with him, didn't you?
right.
And he maintains that
okay.
the true bass guitar is a 6-string, because if you put a guitar next to an upright and an electric guitar, well, it is a bass guitar. And of course, Leo Fender wanted to sell basses to upright players to reduce their wear and tear carrying around the doghouse. Hence, the Fender bass was 4 strings, but the true Fender bass, the true bass guitar should be a 6-string. But
well, yeah, it's debatable. Yeah. I had a Fender well, it's the baritone guitar, although I hated the spacing on it. But I had one for it, and they're great. But I don't think of it like a bass. But it was interesting in Get Back, wasn't it, that they had one of those around the studio? And it's interesting that's what Lennon always picks up.
But it's also interesting that Jack Bruce was playing a Fender 6 with Cream, and it's like
that's right. That's right.
That's kind of bizarre, you know.
But yeah, the Chapman stick. So that was the other thing. So in the 80s, of course, and the Chapman stick was seen as like, of course, you know, Alfonso was playing one, Tony Levin was playing one, and I was thinking like, oh my god, I'm going to have to learn this. I'm going to have to learn this thing, obviously. So I nearly bought one, and realized, and I suddenly thought, you know what? I've just done those. I've just did those 4 years in my bedroom. I don't know if I can go back and do them again, because that's what it was going to be. And then I realized that actually all the guys, especially Tony, it's like, he's only playing 2 strings on it, really.
That's right. That's right.
You know, it's like,
do you know what really was my decision to get rid of the damn thing? Besides, of course, you know, how many years it would take to master it. I didn't want to stand up with the goddamn thing stuck in my pants, you know?
No, exactly. It's a great thing. And it's, I mean, apparently Tony was telling me a few years back that he's transcribed Stravinsky's Firebird for the stick.
That sounds like Tony.
Yeah. So it's like, well, I was never going to do that. So like, then I guess you needed a stick.
One of my favorite stories in your book is how you forgot that you had played the bass line to Like a Prayer.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, and I still, because I have a vague recollection of it. It's really weird. I remember all the other stuff really, really well, because everything else was a band day, and it was this amazing man. And I was fucking terrified. You know, there was. I mean, I know I'd been with Pink Floyd. I had this, and I'd played with kind of big guys, Robert Palmer and stuff. But I still have this terrible imposter syndrome. I still do. I still, you know, I'm basically a West London punk rocker. I shouldn't really be doing any of this. But
but you're the kid with the riffs.
The kid with the riff. No, riff, singular.
Riff. One. Oh, you've got the one riff. That's it.
I used it. I used it a long time ago.
That's it.
Yeah, that's a lot. But and yeah, because they were band, because the band was amazing. It was Sugarfoot Moffat, it was Jay Winding, Bruce Gage, you know, Pat, of course, and Bill Bottrell behind the desk. You know, I mean, it was all amazing. And she was so good. She was so on it. She would sing a guide vocal. She would give you notes, but they were proper notes. You know, they weren't like, can you make it more purple? Or, you know, it was like proper, understandable musical things she wanted you to do or not, or more importantly, not do. And then, but Like a Prayer was just me, her, and Pat and Bill. I don't know why I wasn't there for the date. I think it might be because it's got that synth on it. They might have just been thinking that's it. There might not have been a plan to put a bass on it. Possibly, because I went in to just double some of the verse stuff. I'm playing like kind of like sort of every 4th note or something on that. But then for some reason at the end, it was just one of those, oh, let's go nuts. It's like, you know, we've got it. Just do one for fun sort of thing. And it was, and I probably don't really remember it because I obviously wasn't taking it seriously. It's like as if As if I could do that. As if I could do that. You know what I mean? And then so when she invited me down to the mix because I'd come back to do the Toy Matinee album, in fact. And so I went down. She said, "Come and sit next to me." And I came sat down next to her, and they had this last really loud playthrough of Like a Prayer, and I was absolutely stunned. Because it's just fucking amazing as a song.
Huge hooks, yeah.
And just that, and the arrangement and everything is so, great. It's like there's always something to keep you interested. There's always, you're always thinking, what now? What now? And then that bass happened at the end, and I was like, my God, that sounds like me, but it obviously isn't, because that's way above my pay grade. You know what I mean? Pino gets to do that. Tony Levin gets to do that. Mark King gets to do that. I don't get to do that. Which is why I said to her all the time, Madonna, that is the greatest record you've ever made. It's amazing. And who played bass on it? And she went, "You, Johnny!"
I still think the Michael Jackson story is even more bizarre.
It was interesting. That kind of got different when he died somehow. But it was, the fact that basically the long and short of it is, it's hard to tell it again. Basically when I got asked to. The funniest thing about that is actually when I got the call to do it was because I had this. It was this period of my life was just so insane where I'd literally done the Toy Matinee record and had to leave before the end of that because I had to fly back to Europe to do the Pink Floyd tour, European tour, where we went to Moscow and then we did the amazing gig in Venice. And then I had to fly straight back to LA to start the Robbie Robertson album. It was nuts. And then while we were doing the Robbie Robertson album, we had to. Then I went and did Breathless. I did Hanky Panky and those other songs for Madonna. And then one day in the studio, I get a call from Bill Bottrell. Goes, "Hey, Guy, what are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm kind of what." He said, "Do you want to come and do? I really want you to come play this Michael Jackson song." And I said, "Well, okay. It's if you can be here by 6." I said, "Well, we don't usually finish till 6." So I said I said, "I'll have to ask permission." So I said to Robbie Robertson, I said, "Hey, Robbie, listen, mate, I'm really sorry, but is there any chance I can go early tonight?" So, "Oh, why?" I said, "Well, I've been asked to go and do a Michael Jackson session." And he went, "What am I supposed to say to that?" So I went off to do this, but I said, "Well, why me? Why me, Bill?" And he said, "Michael heard Like a Prayer." And he really, really liked, and he wants that. I thought, oh, great. So he obviously wants full balls out octave pedal, madness. Right. And I turn up at the studio, and Michael's just left, and there's this, "What about sunlight? And I was like, really? What the hell am I supposed to do with this? Until luckily Steve Ferroni comes in. Also, it's in the worst possible key. It's in A flat, which for an octave pedal is nothing. As a rule, you don't go below D. D is the optimum key. Now it doesn't matter because with TCs and everything, now you can go to anything. Although I don't like any of the new octave pedals unless I'm doing a proper sub swell pad thing. For actual octave pedal, for me it kind of it's the OC2. It's the Boss OC2. It's because you want that amount of grunge and you want that amount. And there you go.
Well, that's the 5. That one has the OC2 thing.
Yeah, but it's not an OC2. Boss were talking actually about doing a Guy Pratt edition of the OC2. But that one.
Take that, Pino.
Yeah. I know, because I nicked it from him. I make no bones about it.
Everybody did.
I didn't even realize that was a bass on the record when I first heard it. Yeah.
Yes, tear your playhouse down like that. And although actually the great one is the real one is Give Blood. That's the
phenomenal.
Yeah. But what I think it is at the time, because there was no internet. There was no. I remember when having heard Tear Your Playhouse Down, thinking, "My God, that is insane. It's amazing. What is it? Sounds like a synth, but it obviously isn't." How did I find out it was an octave pedal? Do you know what I mean? Who did I ask?
Right, exactly. There were no chat rooms.
Who did I ask? What do I do? Going, tell me.
Yeah.
Trail of bodies around London. Tell me what that sound is.
Well, you know what? I'll tell you. For me, what was when what is it? Fool in the Rain, Led Zeppelin.
Oh yeah.
I wanted to get that sound on my bass, the solo that he was getting with the fuzz and the octave down. And that's how I figured it out.
Oh, okay. Although, do you know what? The first pedal octaver I had was the Pearl one.
Was that the trumpet one?
Pedals? The what?
Eddie Harris used with his saxophone an octave box.
Oh, okay. But no, the Pearl, what was good about the Pearl one was it had an octave down, 2 octaves down, which no one ever used, right? But it had this thing, had an octave above, which wasn't an octave above, right? It was like, nice try, guys. But it wasn't an octave above. What it was a really thin, fuzzy version of the octave you were playing, which was a really nice little thing to add in.
Oh, I bet.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So, but anyway, so that's where that came from. And, but yeah, so the funny thing, what I actually did on the bass line I came up, and I love the kudos I get from it, because when I think about it, it's because I was absolutely stuck. And what I've done is something, it's so completely different to like a prayer. And it's so, and you're hanging by the seat because it's all about that note, those notes being long. You know, and so everyone, you know, hitting an A flat and going, come on, boss, baby, don't let me down. You know, it's a bit when the key changes to B flat, it's like, okay, that's something. But but and I love the kudos I've got for that, because it's so you know, it's practically smoke on the water, isn't it? Or the joke I have is, which isn't true, but the joke I used to use is what I basically did was the bass line from Bad, because I figured Michael would like it. He just wouldn't know why.